What if the wealth secret Solomon encoded in Hebrew has been mistranslated in every English Bible for generations? What if this secret still exists in the original text, but vanishes the moment you read it in English? The richest man in history left a financial blueprint in Ecclesiastes that gets mistranslated as depression. Ecclesiastes 10:19l says, "Money answers all things," right there, in Scripture. Those exact words. Solomon, the richest man in biblical history, wrote them. Yet pastors skip this verse every Sunday. In English, it looks like heresy. But in Hebrew, the language Solomon wrote in, there's a code embedded that changes everything. Here's what most believers don't know. The verse everyone quotes, "Money is the root of all evil," is a misquote. 1 Timothy 6:10 says the love of money is the root of all evil. Solomon knew the difference. He encoded it in Hebrew patterns throughout Ecclesiastes. The same book everyone calls depressing is a 12-chapter blueprint for biblical prosperity. But without the Hebrew keys, the doors stay locked. Solomon's wealth was estimated at $2.2 trillion in today's currency. His throne was ivory overlaid with gold. His drinking vessels were pure gold because silver was considered worthless in his kingdom. This man didn't theorize about wealth. He lived it, studied it, and documented it. Here's what religious institutions don't teach. In Hebrew, the word Ecclesiastes doesn't exist. The book is called Kohelet. It means the assembler or the gatherer. Solomon wasn't writing about meaninglessness. He was assembling a wealth manual. Every Hebrew letter has numerical value. Every word contains layers of meaning. Every pattern repeats with purpose. Solomon warns in Proverbs 25:19. Trusting in a faithless man in time of trouble is like a bad tooth or a foot that slips. Once decoded, they reveal why the richest man in biblical history wrote what appears to be the most depressing book of the Bible. Every Sunday, millions of believers sit in pews while anxiety floods their bodies. The offering plate approaches, shoulders tighten, involuntarily, that metallic taste of financial fear. Mental math begins. Phone bills late, gas tanks empty, auto draft hits at midnight, while everyone sings about God's provision. Solomon knew that feeling. The man who used gold like aluminum foil documented it in detail, but not in the way English readers think. When Solomon writes, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity," in Ecclesiastes 1:2, English readers think he's depressed. Seminaries teach this interpretation, the standard reading, the accepted view. Completely wrong. The Hebrew word isn't vanity, it's hevel. And hevel doesn't mean meaningless. Hevel means vapor or breath. Breath on a cold morning, visible, present, real, then gone. Solomon isn't saying life is meaningless. He's saying it's moving, shifting, temporary, transitional. The ancient Hebrew mind understood hevel as something precious precisely because it's temporary. Breath keeps you alive. Vapor brings rain. Morning mist waters the ground. Solomon uses hevel 38 times in Ecclesiastes, not to express nihilism, but to teach about life's transitions. A broke situation? That's hevel, vapor. What if it's already passing? What if it's shifting right now? What if this season is already exhaling? Current financial struggles? They're shifting like morning mist. This season, it's breathing in and out, changing with each breath. The Hebrew reveals something English hides completely. When Solomon says hevel havelim, vanity of vanities, he's using a Hebrew superlative structure. Like holy of holies means most holy place. Hevel havelim means the ultimate vapor. Everything is an ultimate transition. Nothing stays static. This changes everything about how to read Ecclesiastes. When Solomon writes in chapter 3 about a time for everything, he's not writing poetry, he's documenting transition patterns. The Hebrew word zman, time, means appointed moment, scheduled transition. Every financial situation has an appointment with change. Watch this pattern emerge from the original text. When Solomon asks God for wisdom instead of wealth in 1 Kings 3:9, he uses the phrase lev shomea, a hearing heart, not a thinking mind, a hearing heart. The Hebrew indicates Solomon wanted to hear what others couldn't hear, to perceive patterns others missed. God's response in verse 12, I have given you a wise and understanding heart. The Hebrew is lev chakam vanavon, a heart that's both skillfully wise and discerningly intelligent. Then verse 13 adds, I have also given you what you have not asked, both riches and honor. The pattern is clear. Solomon didn't seek wealth. He sought the ability to recognize patterns. Wealth was the inevitable result. Solomon reveals a wealth principle in Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 that churches avoid. Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. The Hebrew unlocks what English obscures. This next part? Pay attention. The word for reward is sakar, means wages, compensation, return on investment, not spiritual reward, actual money, cold hard cash, tangible compensation. The same word appears when Jacob negotiates his wages with Laban in Genesis 29:15. When God promises Abraham his reward in Genesis 15:1. When Moses instructs about paying workers in Deuteronomy 24:15. Sakar appears 29 times in the Old Testament. Every single instance refers to tangible compensation. Never once does sakar mean spiritual-only blessing. Always tangible, always actual money. Always measurable, always something you can count. Always economic, always something you can. The phrase two are better than one really translates to two are good in Hebrew. Tov in Hebrew doesn't just mean morally good. It means functional, beautiful, productive. When God saw creation was tov in Genesis, he meant it worked properly. Two people working together aren't just morally better, they're functionally superior for wealth creation. The mathematics of partnership appears throughout Scripture. Deuteronomy 32:30, how could one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight? One person affects 1,000. Two people? 10,000. That's not addition. That's not even double. That's multiplication. Leviticus 26:8, 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight. The ratio increases with scale. Partnership creates exponential, not linear growth. The biblical wealth patterns become obvious once the Hebrew is understood. Abraham, alone in Ur, comfortable, safe, but not wealthy. Then traveling with Lot, both prosper, significantly. Then separated, immediate challenges, both of them. Do you see the pattern? Now he's partnered with Sarah in faith. He comes a father of nations, allied with Abimelech. He experiences massive wealth increase. Jacob's transformation follows the same blueprint, fleeing alone in poverty. But while working for Laban, he learns business. Partnering with Laban, even if conflicted, Jacob builds wealth. He ends up leading a family enterprise which becomes Israel. David's evolution mirrors it exactly, a shepherd alone, the youngest, the forgotten son. But with Jonathan's friendship, he rises to prominence. He builds mighty men and becomes king. And again, partnering with Nathan and priests, he establishes a dynasty that endures to this day. The pattern repeats without exception. Isolation leads to limitation. Partnership leads to multiplication. The pattern repeats in this day and age. Solo entrepreneurs have an 80% failure rate within 5 years. The numbers don't lie. The pattern holds. With partners, it drops to 50%. With mentors added, success rate rises to 70%. Solomon knew this 3,000 years ago. He encoded it in Hebrew. English readers missed it entirely. But here's where Solomon's Hebrew gets even more precise. In the original Hebrew of verse 12, and if one overpowers the one, the two will stand against him, and the threefold cord is not quickly torn apart. Picture the scene. An ancient Hebrew rope maker, rough hands, braiding flax fibers. One strand breaks at 5 pounds, two side by side, 10 pounds. But braided, 17 pounds. The difference is tangible. Simple addition would give 10 pounds. But two strands braided together withstand 17 pounds, multiplication. 3 strands braided create 45 pounds of resistance. In other words, it is exponential. Solomon watched rope makers. He encoded their methodology into wealth principles. Even the Exodus, the defining Jewish historical event, demonstrates partnership economics. When Moses encounters God at the burning bush, his first response is resistance. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? One person, overwhelmed by impossible task. God's response in verse 12, I will be with you. First partnership established. Divine backing. But God doesn't stop there. Exodus 4:14. Is there not Aaron your brother, the Levite? Second partnership. Human collaboration. Then Exodus 18 introduces Jethro's transformative counsel. Jethro, Yitro in Hebrew, was Moses' father-in-law, a priest of Midian. When Moses fled Egypt after killing the Egyptian taskmaster, Jethro took him in, gave him refuge, employed him as a shepherd, eventually gave him his daughter Zipporah in marriage. Jethro wasn't an Israelite. He was a Midianite priest who worshipped God and recognized divine patterns in nature and business. After the Exodus, when Moses was leading roughly 2 to 3 million people through the wilderness, Jethro came to visit. What he observed alarmed him. Moses was personally judging every dispute, counseling every person, solving every problem from sunrise to sunset. Exodus 18:14 records Jethro's question, "What is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit alone and all the people stand around you from morning till evening?" Moses' answer in verse 15 reveals the trap. Because the people come to me to inquire of God. Moses believed he was indispensable, the only one qualified, the sole channel of divine wisdom. It's the same lie that keeps modern entrepreneurs trapped in their businesses, unable to scale, working 80-hour weeks while claiming, "No one else can do it like I do." Jethro's response in verses 17 to 18 is devastating. What you are doing is not good. You and the people with you will certainly wear yourselves out, for the thing is too heavy for you. You are not able to do it alone. The Hebrew uses the same tav again, that is, good and functional, the same word God used to describe his creation. Jethro is saying, this system isn't functioning properly, it's broken by design. Then comes the partnership prescription in verses 21 to 22. Look for able men from all the people, men who fear God, who are trustworthy and hate a bribe, and place such men over the people as chiefs of thousands, of hundreds, of 50s, and of 10s. Jethro wasn't just suggesting delegation. He was prescribing and architecting a system where leaders of hundreds managed community-level issues. Leaders of 50s oversaw neighborhood matters. Leaders of 10s addressed household conflicts. This created exponential capacity. Instead of one man judging thousands, you had a network where 99% of issues resolved at lower levels, freeing Moses for strategic leadership. Here's what creates cognitive dissonance for modern believers. The teaching says, depend on God alone, while Scripture consistently models, depend on God through strategic partnerships. Proverbs 11:14 states, where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors there is safety. Deliverance comes in a multitude of advisors, not just spiritual safety, economic deliverance. The wealthiest person in biblical history clearly states that you cannot get there alone. You cannot attain financial wealth by yourself. Not because of weakness, because the divine design requires partnership. Solomon's system, decoded from Hebrew patterns throughout Ecclesiastes and Proverbs, reveals 7 distinct partnership levels. Level 1, an accountability partner. Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron. Someone who sees blind spots, challenges excuses, maintains standards. Level 2, skill complementation, that is, weakness coverage. Ecclesiastes 4:9, good reward for labor. Someone whose abilities cover weaknesses, creating functional completion. Level 3, resource access, a partner who opens doors, opening. 1. Kings 5:1-12 tells of Solomon and Hiram where someone controls what's needed, making mutual exchange beneficial. Level 4, strategic counsel who saves time. Proverbs 11:14 states, abundance of counselors. Someone whose experience prevents costly mistakes, compressing learning curves. Level 5. Network bridge, that is, the people connector. Proverbs 18:16. A man's gift makes room for him. Someone whose connections open doors permanently closed otherwise. Level 6. Capital partner, vision funding. Proverbs 31:16. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. Someone who funds vision in exchange for proportional return. Level 7. Legacy succession. 1 Kings 1:1-53. David passes on his legacy to Solomon, someone who carries what was built beyond a lifetime, multiplying impact. These levels aren't about manipulation or using people. They're about creating mutual value so substantial that both parties become exponentially better. Solomon's partnership with Hiram of Tyre exemplifies this. Solomon needed cedar and cypress, unavailable in Israel. Hiram needed food supplies and skilled labor. Solomon offered 20,000 cores of wheat, 20,000 baths of oil, and expert craftsmen. Hiram provided timber and transportation. The partnership wasn't transactional, it was transformational. Both kingdoms prospered for decades because of this alliance. The Hebrew describes their agreement, Vayikirtu Brit, and they cut covenant. Not a contract, a covenant. Binding, generational, sacred. When modern entrepreneurs treat partnerships as contracts, temporary, transactional, self-protective, they miss the Hebrew framework entirely. Biblical wealth came through covenant relationships that prioritized mutual flourishing over individual gain, but there's a warning baked into the words. Verse shows examples that create disability at critical moments. A partnership with someone faithless or lacking covenant commitment fails exactly when it is needed the most. Ecclesiastes 5:10 shows a critical truth. Whoever loves money never has enough money. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. The Hebrew reveals two different problems. First problem, loving the money itself, the cash, the numbers in the account. Second problem, loving what money buys, the big house, the status, the security. The word ohev, loves, is the same word used for loving God in Deuteronomy 6:5. This is deep love, complete devotion, total commitment. When money gets that kind of love, it becomes an idol that can never, ever satisfy. Solomon uses different Hebrew words to describe what people actually love. Kesef, the money itself, Haman, the lifestyle money creates. Some people love money itself, watching the balance grow, counting it, scoring points. Others love what money provides, comfort, respect, feeling safe. Solomon says both are traps. The solution appears in verse 19. Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions, and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil, this is a gift of God. Two separate gifts. First gift, the money and possessions themselves. Second gift, the ability to actually enjoy them. Many get the first gift without the second. What does that look like? Having money but living in fear. Bank account growing but anxiety growing faster. More wealth, less joy. Sound familiar? They have money but think like they're broke, afraid to spend, afraid to invest, afraid to enjoy. Like the servant who buried his talent in Matthew 25:25, saying, I was afraid. Solomon makes a clear distinction throughout Ecclesiastes. Passionate love toward money, never satisfied reverence toward God plus smart use of money, abundance without pain. Solomon teaches that wisdom plus reverence toward God creates lasting wealth. The Hebrew word yer means respectful awe that leads to right action, not fear that freezes you. Awe that moves you forward. When someone has yer toward God and uses money wisely, Proverbs 10:22 activates. The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. Kohelet, the original Hebrew name for the book of Ecclesiastes, comes from the root kahal, to assemble, gather, congregate. Solomon isn't randomly philosophizing. He's systematically gathering and assembling wealth principles into an organized system. The book's structure reveals this. Chapters 1 to 2, Diagnosis of Wrong Approaches to Wealth. Chapters 3 to 5, Timing and Partnership Principles. Chapters 6 to 8, Warning about Wealth Traps. Chapters 9 to 11, Practical Wealth Strategies. Chapter 12, The Ultimate Accountability. Ecclesiastes 11, 1 to 6 contains Solomon's complete wealth-building blueprint. Verse 1, Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Lehem in Hebrew means bread. What does it represent? Sustenance and daily needs, provision, God's supply, labor, the hand's production, seed capital. Mayim, waters, in ancient Hebrew mindset represented chaos and uncertainty. Source of life and death, uncontrollable forces requiring faith. Cast upon waters describes international trade. Ancient merchants literally sent grain ships across the Mediterranean, not knowing if storms, pirates, or market changes would destroy their investment. But those who consistently traded saw returns after many days. Again, the Hebrew is more precise with the words Berov Hayamim, meaning in the multitude of days. This isn't random gambling. It's calculated, strategic, intelligent, risk across time. Verse 2, Give portions to 7, yes, even to 8, for you do not know what disaster may happen on earth. 7 in Hebrew thinking represents completion, perfection, and divine order. But 8 goes beyond. 8 transcends. 8 is new beginnings. Solomon prescribes 7 to 8 diversified income streams, not for greed, but for wisdom. You do not know what disaster may come. The principle: concentration builds wealth, diversification preserves it. Verse 3, If clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves on the earth. Natural law operates whether humans participate or not. Economic principles function regardless of personal belief. The Hebrew text thus describes inevitability, not possibility. Verse 4, Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. The Hebrew for watching is shomer. It means more than casual observation. It means guarding, protecting, hedging about. Those who obsessively protect against every risk never plant. Those waiting for perfect conditions never harvest. Verse 5, As you don't know the path of the wind, or how bones are formed in the womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker of all things. Mystery doesn't negate methodology. Unknown mechanisms don't invalidate proven patterns. Solomon's saying, you don't need to understand everything to implement something. Ecclesiastes contains specific mathematical principles for wealth creation. Solomon, who managed an economy generating roughly $2 billion in today's values, understood wealth mathematics. His first principle is time value. Solomon lists exactly 28 times in his famous passage. Why 28? 28 equals 7 times 4. 7 represents spiritual completion, 4 represents earthly creation, 4 seasons, 4 directions. 28 represents complete earthly manifestation of spiritual principles. Each time has its opposite, creating 14 pairs. The Hebrew reveals these aren't random opposites. They're wealth creation tensions, a time to birth and time to die. Every business venture has a life cycle. Knowing when to birth new initiatives and when to let dying ventures go determines wealth. A time to plant and time to uproot. Investment requires both entering positions, planting, and exiting them, uprooting. Solomon's teaching portfolio management 3,000 years before modern theory. A time to tear down and time to build. Creative destruction precedes wealth creation. Old systems must be dismantled for new ones to emerge. The multiplication principle is found in Ecclesiastes 4:9-12. Solomon provides specific mathematics. 1 person falls, he stays down. 2 people, 1 falls, the other lifts the other back up, which means 100% recovery rate. 1 person gets cold and stays cold. 2 people together equals warmth, that is, shared resources. one person gets overpowered, while two people withstand and have defensive multiplication. A threefold chord is not quickly broken and means exponential strength. This isn't addition, it's multiplication. The compound interest principle in Ecclesiastes 11:1. After many days you will find it. The Hebrew urov doesn't just mean many, it means abundance, multitude, increase. Solomon's describing compound returns, not simple interest. Ancient Jewish commentators calculated if bread cast on waters returns in abundance of days, and assuming minimal 10% annual return, then, in year 1, 100 becomes 110. In year 7, the Sabbath year, 100 becomes 195, and in year 49, the Jubilee, 100 becomes 10,672. Solomon knew compound interest. He encoded it linguistically. So here's the moment of decision if you want to start a business. Let's review the implementation framework as taught by the wealthiest man in the Bible. Based on Solomon's system in Ecclesiastes 11:1-6, the practical application begins when? Not next month, not when conditions are perfect, tonight. First, cast the vision. Day 1-2. Identify problems causing daily frustration. Listen for complaint patterns. Note repeated wishes. I wish there was. Document inefficiencies everyone accepts. Day 3-4. Research existing solutions. Why do current solutions fail? What do users hate about them? Where's the gap between need and solution? Day 5-7. Develop unique angle. How could this be 10 times better? What would delight versus satisfy? What would make this shareable? Week 2. Partnership formation. 2 better than 1. Day 8-10. Identify complementary skills needed. Technical expertise lacking market access. Needed capital resources required. Day 11-12. Approach potential partners. Present mutual benefit. Propose small test collaboration. Define success metrics. Day 13-14. Structure simple agreement responsibilities. Clear revenue split. Defined exit strategy planned. Week 3. Diversification strategy. Give portions to 7. Day 15-17. Identify 7 to 8 potential revenue streams, such as direct sales, that is, immediate revenue, subscriptions, that is, recurring revenue, partnerships or leveraged revenue, actual products that function as scalable revenue, education and courses, which is authority revenue, affiliates who will create network revenue. Solomon's wealth theology challenges everything you were taught about money. Ecclesiastes 8:14 states, "There is something else meaningless that occurs on earth, the righteous who get what the wicked deserve, and the wicked who get what the righteous deserve." Solomon observed that faith doesn't guarantee wealth. Righteous people sometimes stay poor. Wicked people sometimes get rich. The name it, claim it theology contradicts Solomon's observations. Ecclesiastes 5:19 declares, "Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions, and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil, this is a gift of God." Solomon calls wealth a gift from God, not a curse. The ability to enjoy prosperity is divine enablement, not worldly compromise. Solomon divinely inspired theology is balanced and practical. Wealth is a tool and not a treasure, a responsibility and not a right, a test and not a testimony, a gift and not a guarantee. The Hebrew word matana, gift, appears in Ecclesiastes 5:19. It shares a root with natan, to give. Wealth is something given that must be stewarded according to divine principles. Ecclesiastes 12:13-14 provides Solomon's conclusion. "Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil." The Hebrew sof davar, hakol nishma, end of matter, everything has been heard, indicates complete revelation. Nothing hidden remains. In the Hebrew, God's chosen language to reveal himself to humankind, the word is yar, meaning reverential awe producing appropriate action. not paralyzing fear, but mobilizing awe. As for keeping his commandments, the word used is shemor, meaning guard, observe, give heed. Not passive obedience, but active attention to divine patterns. Solomon's final message: wealth creation is spiritual work when done according to divine principles. Every deed, including business decisions, faces judgment. Hidden motivations matter as much as visible actions. Ecclesiastes isn't about meaninglessness, it's about movement. Hevel, vapor, means everything shifts, including poverty. Solomon's Hebrew preserves what English obscures, the patterns proven across 3 millennia, the system simple enough for anyone to put into action. The divine blueprint has been revealed, but one question remains. Will this knowledge become transformation, or will it remain information? The Hebrew has spoken. The patterns are proven. The choice is clear.